Alright, greetings everyone. It is I, Umber Rays, and just a heads up, this video is going to be hella full of spoilers, so if you are not interested in story spoilers for Wotv, please exit through the doors. They are clearly marked with exit signs. And thanks for clicking on this video. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Just kidding. Alright. But jokes aside, time to talk about the end of Book 2, because by the end of Book 1 on in Wotv, I was pretty fed up with it. Book 1, for lack of a lot of ways of putting it, dragged way too long. It just dragged out way too long. And probably could have ended and been a little more condensed, and that was essentially Book 2. Book 2 ended a few chapters earlier. We're going to get some intermission coming up, but I just wanted to talk about really my overall feelings about Season 2 at the end of this. This chapter specifically, and last but not least, we're going to take a look at the cutscenes. So first of all, I just want to get through this part 4 of Chapter 10, which has been an incredibly boring and mundane series of maps for what it was essentially the end of this. I mean, if you look at this season as a whole, there were some really interesting enemies introduced, some that even made me go, wait, what? What's that? Who? What? Oh, wow, okay. But this, at the end of this season, was really fell flat. There was no super high HP boss. It was just droves and droves of really boring enemies. And great, thanks game, thanks. This is a well-made app right in the middle of my video. I guess it wouldn't be a YouTube video without this happening. But yeah, the maps are essentially just straightforward fighting regular Church of Sidali's enemies. Like, it's not very interesting, and it's not interesting compared to some of the other stuff that has shown up over the course of this season. And it, at the end of it, it feels just really bad. And so I want to just show this stage in specific, which just didn't have really that interesting mechanics or anything. It was just kind of like, well, here's some. This is the last stage. This is what you need to beat book number 2. And you remember season 1, and yeah, season 1 dragged it out way too long. But fighting the giant snake tank, which was Moraga, was a pretty cool enemy to end up going up against. Like, it was like, oh, look at this thing. This is really weird. How does that work? What is that? What is, how do, you know, like, it wasn't perfect, but it was, you know, an ending, and it did feel like an ending, which is more than I can say for this one, because, like, I'm not going to say that it was like a bad ending, because there was stuff in the CGs and everything that was really cool and has me like interested in another season. But you just look at this, and this just isn't that interesting. Like, normally you think you get to, you know, maybe it's just the way video games are, but you get to this point and you're like, wow, I'm gonna get to fight some really cool boss with some interesting design, and maybe he's really powerful or kind of dangerous even, sort of. And that's just not what this is. This is really dull. This is all it is. And again, given some of the cool enemy designs that we've seen, some introduction of monsters in this season, this was a big disappointment. Overall, this was a pretty big disappointment. So yeah, not going to give any credit to the maps. The maps were just not that interesting. But, you know, now we're going to move on to the story part of this, and we're going to go into the replay section. But I want to talk a little bit about what's going on. Essentially, you know, people are teaming up to go up against Sidali, who's become like the main villain of this chapter. OS is kind of being like entirely forgotten. I'm not even sure the devs remember that was the thing. But here, let's take a peek here at the story such as it is. Massive spoilers coming up here for anyone who is not wanting it. Last chance. So here we got Jaden and Mont, teaming up, going up against Sadali. They end up fighting here. Interestingly, there was also some other things that were pretty interesting. Just a little clip earlier. I'm going to save that one because it is probably legitimately the more exciting thing. We'll talk about it in a second here. But here comes Oberyn. Oberyn's rallied his troops and got all of his guys, and Oberyn is effing pissed off. Fair enough. Who wouldn't be, man? So let's just check out here, and we're gonna have a little bit of a battle going on. Mont and Jaden kind of just disappear in this next part, which is really funny to me because it's just like, okay, and Sadali's just like chucking fireballs, which for anybody who's complaining about elemental things, here's something new for you to complain about, I guess. So yeah, Sadali basically has an AT field. He is from the Evangelion series, such as it is. Oberyn summoning some guys who, well, that was a good attempt. Maybe they should have got some URs. Sadali goes, oh! Which is hilarious to me. We have Cirque du Sobounce breaking through that barrier. Sadali, AT field destroyed. Mont and Jaden have stopped existing. Here comes Oberyn. Is that not in his limit burst? Don't know. Sadali smiles because he's about to fire his laser. Summons a guy just to get owned, which is probably just one of my favorite things. You gotta wonder about that dude who got hired. Oberyn's step ladder. These two guys grab onto the heels, immediately destroyed, and Oberyn's just going in here. Power of the Dragoon, baby. Then we get the Ode to Zombie. And Sadali's like, well, you know, they hired me for at least one more season, so peace out. And the copy pastas here are back to normal. Good for the copy pastas. Now, Jaden and Mont still not really present. Okay, all right. Oh, there they are. Hey, we wanted to help you, but we kind of there wasn't enough budget. Gumi's CG budget went into Hirano's pocket budget, I guess. So we kind of get a little bit of news about what's going on elsewhere, which will lead us into the next segment. I'm not going to spoil this for you just yet. I'm just going to wait till we get there. So let's hop on through. Basically, Oberyn and Jaden decide to head off. Yeah, temporary alliance is finished, maybe, and off we go. So here we go, coming back here, Chocobo riding all the way over, and look where we are at. I think we'll even just pause this for a minute. Koga. And I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling kids. But anyway, yes, Koga is behind something. And we look over here. Here's our CG. The betrayal. It's not over yet. I'm not even going to make a Spaceballs joke here. But, wait, there's more. That's right. Bet you thought that the story forgot about them. But wait, there's more. As that's not been the only thing that's been going on. Here we go. What was that? And that guy got squished. Now, interestingly, I'm going to say that this looks really a lot like the diamond weapon from Final Fantasy VII. I'm not 100% sure. It does have some unique characteristics to it, but this is not anything that I'm also aware of in terms of Brave Exvius lore. And then he continued. So I'm going to wrap this video up with essentially a little bit of thoughts about, while we also run a potentially interesting thing. I think it was Battle 8 where we get this cutscene. But my overall thoughts of Season 2. Season 2, or Book 2, or whatever you want to call it, I thought was overall pretty entertaining. It was a nice start to get like just a bunch of fresh faces in Book 2. It was interesting to get a lot of developments and, you know, some story through line, some resolvement between certain characters, some older characters dying, some newer characters coming in. And in general, the fact that Season 2, Book 2 didn't drag out as long as Season 1 is a overall net positive for me. Just because these already feel pretty stretched out at certain points in times with the number of maps and the enemies on the maps with not that much new content. So it does sometimes feel a little bit less than exciting, to say the least. And yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping that Season 3 will be even more interesting. I mean, there's quite the lead-in with the awakening of the creature that was in the crystal. Again, I don't recognize it from anything specifically in Brave Exvius history. It looks more like something from... it looks more like one of the weapons, which it could be very much its own thing. It could be a summon on a future 90 cost vision card, or even a 100 cost vision card. It's hard to say exactly what the goal of this thing will be, and I kind of hope that it's leading into something more, like it's not just a one-off. Hopefully that there are more creatures in crystals like this that'll provide interesting challenges or content into the future. So yeah, I mean, I'm interested, if nothing else, in seeing what Season 3 would have. Not 100% sure if it'll be the most amazing thing, or the worst thing, or somewhere in between, but it's interesting, at least for now. So yeah, I think overall, I'm going to give Book 2 a much more positive review than Book 1. Kind of more interesting. Definitely some laggy, draggy parts, but, you know, you can't have it all up all the time. But here's one last little gift for everybody out there. The return of Light Veritas. Yeah, that's right. Her model being used again, which I'm a big fan of, because I still would love to see the Veritas units end up in this game, because they're very interesting. You know, we know who's inside that armor. If you played Brave Exvius. But it's really cool to see Light Veritas being ended up used again, and I guess technically now she's owned by Oberon. We'll see what goes from there. Maybe it'll be Maybe it'll summon Veritas of the Earth instead. I don't know, but yeah. And that was the end of the canon kind of thing, which pretty cool. And then Veritas of Light kind of gets schmacked, so, you know, back and forth, but whatever. And then we get into Sadali, but we've already been through that. So yeah, hopefully you found this interesting. You know, this is a spoiler video, so feel free to type spoilers in the comments below, but, you know, be respectful to other players who don't watch this video. Keep it a secret for them so they can experience what it is when it comes out. So yeah, thanks for watching, and much like the end of there right there, continued.